Hi, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the 1 Million Cups podcast. For the community, by the community. I'm Jessica, your host today, and I'm joined by Jim, who's here today with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks, Jessica.
Absolutely.
It's always fun to be here, and I love Million Cups.
Good.
Both in Omaha, I've been to Norfolk. Can't wait to get to Grand Island and Lincoln, too.
Awesome. So how long have you been with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund?
I've been with NEF, as we call it, for almost 12 years in October. Wow. So it's time's going by. And thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. What attracted you to the NEF?
I was working overseas in microfinance and small business support and lending. My predecessor was retiring. The job position came open. It was a perfect fit. I just got back to the U.S. after doing some international work, and my kids were in school, so it was time to stay home and stay in the small business world and keep working with the ecosystem.
Very, very cool. And for the viewers who may not be as familiar with NEF, can you just give us a short cap of what all services, maybe not comprehensively, but a summary of what you guys do?
Yeah, Nebraska Enterprise Fund is what we call a CDFI, which is a community development finance institution. We're certified by the Treasury Department. And we have really three main pillars. The first one is training. So we do a lot of different trainings throughout the year. We have one coming up at the end of June, for example, on the basics of AI. We do training both in English and Spanish. Everyone's always invited to any of our trainings. Then we do coaching, so one-to-one coaching. We'll sit down, help people think through their business plans, their financial projections, just what small business is dealing with. And then the third one is access to capital through we have a revolving loan fund where we can go anywhere from a few $1,000s up to over $1 million with bank participation. So some of our loans we do in-house, and some we work with the banks.
Gotcha. So tell me about the typical entrepreneur. When are they coming to you, or what's a good stage to start talking to the NEF?
I'll start with what's the best time to come talk to us is come talk to us early.
As soon as you have the idea.
As soon as you have the idea. I mean, Jessica didn't tell you this, but we were just talking to somebody before we stepped on, and they're starting to set up their program or their business, and it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? You know, so it's
LLCs and all the very basics,
leases and build outs and all these things. So it's always good to get your folks in your corner early.
Absolutely.
It also helps us understand what you're doing. So if you do need funding from us, you've already got us on board and starting to understand what's going on. We work with startup businesses. We work with nascent businesses that maybe are started but are just getting a little bit of traction.
And expanding growth.
We work with expanding businesses.
I love it.
We've worked with businesses, well, you all would know them, but they started out of college. They'd done a little bit of work getting going their junior and senior year of college. Now they're a significant player in the community now. So, you know, that's one example. Another example.
Things like Huddle.
Huddle, we didn't get to work with Huddle.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't find them until they'd already outgrown us. But we do have some businesses that have started with 10 or 12 employees and now hire well over 100.
That's amazing. Yeah. I love to see that growth. And I'm sure you take some personal ownership of, you know, kind of fostering that community and
it's always exciting to see what happens. It's really rewarding when somebody comes back 3 years later and says, hey, look, here's where we are. It's also rewarding. It might sound counterintuitive, but when a banker calls us and say, hey, can I talk to this client because they've come to me for a loan? That's actually our end game. Is we don't want people to stay with us forever. We want people to come work with us until they're able to expand and
kind of grow up a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm sure you've seen all kinds of businesses in Nebraska. We have a lot of focus on agriculture, but is there any industry that you can't serve?
Some of the ones that are, if it's 100% alcohol, it's really hard.
Gotcha.
We'll probably stay away from some of the tobacco use, some of the bookstores,
Gotcha.
But we do get federal and state funding, so we just want to be aware that we have a microscope on us sometimes, so we have to be careful. Otherwise, as long as you can be legally registered, we're happy to talk with you.
Yeah, tech, beauty shop, whatever.
Yep, tech,
anything
beauty
in
shop,
between.
Mechanics, dump truck driver, the whole 9 yards. We've
I
worked
love
with
that.
lawyers at different times. We've worked with insurance, tech, restaurants. I mean, you name it. We've probably at least had conversations with people.
That's fantastic. And I know that beyond the loans that you service, your information is just an absolute treasure trove. Do you work with a lot of the state programming, like the Department of Economic Development?
We have DED funding, and we talk with them regularly. We also coordinate and collaborate a lot with other state organizations, with Grow Nebraska, with SBDC, with SCORE. I mean, those are just a few examples, but we are connected and try to stay connected in the ecosystem. We know we can't do it all, so we want to know who can when we can't.
Sure.
Because there are times, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 groups coming together. I mean, we just did a loan, for example, a couple months ago, and it was farther west, but the company had a bank involved, but they also needed us and Invest Nebraska, so the 3 of us worked together, the bank, us, and Invest, to get the deal done. Another example of collaboration.
Great collaboration, absolutely. Yep. And I know the answer to this, but do your services cost anything?
Almost all of them are free. There's a few that we have to charge a little bit. For example, I mentioned earlier the AI class we're doing.
Sure.
We're going to keep it low cost. It's about $49-$50. We charge for a QuickBooks class. That's usually $29-$39 price range. And then we're doing again our Startup to Success in October. We just charge enough to cover for the basics.
Your staff, the lights on.
Well, actually the food.
The food.
And we got a grant from BMO to cover the facility itself. So, that way we can keep the cost way down.
Yeah, but the fact that there's food there, I mean, I might have to check out these classes,
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
And I know Jennifer was there last year, so hopefully she'll be back.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, what's maybe one business that you really enjoyed the journey with?
The one I like to watch is actually Apsky Labs.
Gotcha.
They came to us early. They'd had a little bit of growth, a little bit of traction, finished college, grew some more, took some loans, grew a little bit more and a lot more. And now I'm actually talking to Taylor, one of the founders at the time, with his new product and Vision Sync. And so because of Apsky's success, they're starting to create new businesses and
great.
spin-offs. So it's kind of fun to watch. I mean,
absolutely.
And then there's a few that are, Hardy Coffee was a client of ours at one point. So it's
and they've grown to how many locations now?
At least 4 plus wholesale.
Fantastic.
So they're selling across the state.
That's amazing. That's great. So we can catch you here typically at 1 Million Cups.
I'm usually here 3-4 times a month. I'm out and about quite a bit, and you can always try to catch me in the office. We're at 2112 North 30th Street.
Perfect.
Suite 103, just a couple doors down from Hardy Coffee. Speak of good coffee.
Yes.
And near the No More Empty Pots
That's right,
facility.
their new greenhouse area.
The greenhouse area.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
Did you help with the No More Empty Pots thing, or were you involved in that?
We actually did, because they are, even though we don't work a lot with nonprofits, their goal was to foment more for-profit business. So we were able to help them a little bit when they were fundraising. They had commitments, but they didn't have the money, so we were able to do a short-term loan so that they could keep their construction going.
Yeah.
And then they've obviously paid us off, and
that's awesome.
And growing like wildfire.
Yeah, that's great. They're doing so much great work, and so are you guys.
Thank you.
So plans to keep expanding, or what's in the future for NEF?
We're going to keep expanding. We do, and I don't know when this is going to go to air, but we do have a couple job openings. So
fantastic.
Talk to me later about those if anybody has an interest.
And you love entrepreneurship?
We love entrepreneurship. We just want to make sure we're serving the entrepreneurial ecosystem in a way that's collaborative and supportive of each other.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so what would be one piece of advice that you would want to give entrepreneurs, like one takeaway that you could think of?
I think the biggest takeaway is the planning aspect.
Okay.
We see a lot of people come in and I want to do this right now, and have you taken time to do a business plan? Have you talked to the market? Have you got your financials in order? Have you got your personal finances in order? And all that takes time to plan. There's very few, if any, business opportunities that are really good that need to be jumped on day one.
Right.
And I put it this way, it might take 8 or 10 or 12 hours to do the planning, or even 100 hours if you go through some of the lean techniques and so forth. But think about it as that's time you're investing in your company.
Right.
It's a whole lot worse to quit your job, grab a $50,000 or $100,000 or whatever loan, and then 6 months fail because you didn't plan.
Sure.
That costs a whole lot more than taking an extra 3 months and really plan it and get things put in place right.
Absolutely.
So forth.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. It's been great. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Jim and the NEF. They're here to help you. And we will catch you next time on the next episode of 1 Million Cups Podcast. Thanks.
Thank you.